What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode brought to you by the League FFB. Today, we are going to be talking about 3 players whose matchups I love in week 2 of fantasy football at the running back position, and 3 players whose matchups I don't like and I would consider benching in your fantasy football leagues. So without wasting any more time, let's take about 10 minutes and let's talk about 3 must-start and 3 must-sit running backs in your fantasy football leagues for week 2. Now, the first player that I want to talk about whose matchup is just too good to pass up this week is going to be Travis Etienne for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He plays in a matchup this week against the Kansas City Chiefs, and they have a projected game total of 51 points. Now, also, the Jaguars have a projected team total of 23.5 points in this matchup, which is favored for the over. Their team is projected to score about 3 touchdowns in this game, so plenty of scoring opportunities for Travis Etienne here in this matchup. He also has a projected total yards of 84.5 rushing and receiving yards, with a projected receptions line of 3 receptions. Travis Etienne does have the highest odds to score a touchdown for the Jacksonville Jaguars in this game, so we do like to see that for fantasy football purposes. Now, in this matchup with the Kansas City Chiefs, I do expect it to be a high-scoring affair. I do think that Travis Etienne is going to be used pretty heavily in the passing game, so we should see a healthy dose of use there for Travis Etienne as far as passing work goes. And I would be comfortable calling Travis Etienne a mid to low-end RB1 in this matchup here for your fantasy football teams in week 2. Now, the second player here that I would consider a must-start in week 2 of fantasy football is going to be Rhamondre Stevenson, running back for the New England Patriots. Stevenson gets a matchup against the Miami Dolphins here at home in New England this week, and that game has a projected game total of 46.5 points. Now, the New England Patriots, they do have a projected team total of 22.5 points, which means that we are projecting anywhere between 2 and 3 touchdown opportunities in this game for the New England Patriots offense. Rhamondre Stevenson does have a projected total yardage line here of 78.5 rushing and receiving yards in this game. He also has a receptions line set at 3.5 receptions, so we should see plenty of work from Rhamondre Stevenson here in this matchup. Now, I expect this game to stay competitive in a divisional matchup, like I said, at home for the New England Patriots. So if the Patriots do want a chance at winning this matchup against the Miami Dolphins, I do think that they are going to have to control the pace of this game by slowing down the Dolphins, by making their defense stay on the field with long sustained drives. Now, that does mean that they are going to require lots of use from Stevenson in the running game to keep this a healthy offense for the New England Patriots here this week. I would say I'm comfortable playing Rhamondre Stevenson as a low-end RB1 in my fantasy football lineups this week here in week 2 against the Miami Dolphins. And my third and final must-start at the running back position this week is going to be Detroit Lions running back Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, the Detroit Lions have a matchup here against the Seattle Seahawks this week. The projected game total is going to be set at 47.5 points, and the Lions have a projected team total set at 26.5 points that does favor the over on that line. So this Lions team is projected to score anywhere between 3 and 4 touchdowns in this game, and Jahmyr Gibbs has a total receiving and rushing line set at 70.5 yards in this matchup, with a receptions line set at 3.5 receptions. So again, just like the 2 previous guys that we've talked about, there should be a healthy dose of Jahmyr Gibbs in this matchup against the Seattle Seahawks. Jahmyr does have the 3rd highest touchdown odds for the Detroit Lions in this matchup, and overall, I am expecting this game to be a competitive game with the Seahawks, where there should be a healthy dose of scoring from both sides. Last week, the Seattle Seahawks gave up 426 yards on defense, and the Lions are a much better team than the Los Angeles Rams, in my opinion. And if the Lions get up early for some reason, they will have to lean on this run game, which obviously is going to be good for Jahmyr Gibbs. And if for some reason this game is competitive and is a shootout, they're going to have to use Jahmyr Gibbs in the passing game, which also is going to be good for fantasy football. So I do think that Jahmyr Gibbs is a foolproof plan for the Detroit Lions here in this matchup against the Seattle Seahawks, and I'm comfortable playing Jahmyr Gibbs as a high upside running back 2 in my fantasy football leagues this week. And so now that we've talked about players that I love their matchups and I am starting in my fantasy football leagues, let's talk about the guys that I don't like, and we can start with Arizona Cardinals running back James Conner. The Arizona Cardinals have a matchup against the New York Giants this week, and this game does have a projected game total at 39.5 points, with a projected team total for the Arizona Cardinals set at 17.5 points that does favor the under on that line. So this Arizona Cardinals team is projected to score anywhere between 1 and 2 touchdowns in this game, so not a lot of touchdowns to go around for the Cardinals. And James Conner does have a total rushing and receiving yardage line set at 82.5 yards, with a receptions line set at 2.5 yards. So they do expect James Conner to be a decent size of this offense here this week. The only issue is that this offense isn't going to be very good, and there isn't going to be very many scoring opportunities for the Cardinals. And like I've already alluded to, this game game is projected to be a very low scoring game for the Arizona Cardinals, with only 1 or 2 chances at a touchdown for James Conner. So it's going to be tough to trust James, even if he falls into the end zone. Maybe that could save his fantasy football day. But overall, the Arizona Cardinals do not project to be a very efficient team here this year or this week against the New York Giants. And if you do decide to play James Conner in your lineups this week, you are going to be wishing on a touchdown and hoping for a lot of volume, but you're going to be lacking a lot of efficiency. I guess if you were to consider playing James Conner in your lineups this week, we could consider him as a low-end running back too. He does offer very minimal upside in my opinion, and if you had players like Rachaad White, James Cook, or even Miles Sanders, I would consider playing all of those guys over James Conner this week. Now, another player whose matchup I don't really like this week is going to be Raheem Mostert for the Miami Dolphins. So we're going back to that Dolphins and Patriots game, and again, they do have a projected game total of 46.5 points. Now, the Dolphins in this matchup are projected to score about 23.5 points, which does mean we are looking at 2 to 3 touchdown opportunities for the Miami Dolphins. Raheem Mostert does have a rushing and receiving yardage line set at 64.5. He also has a receptions line set at 1.5, so not a ton of receiving work projected for Raheem Mostert here in this matchup, and really not a lot of rushing work projected for him either. Mostert does have the 3rd highest odds to score a touchdown in this game, so it's not very high, but it's also not very low for Raheem Mostert as far as touchdown probability goes. And one thing that I think we should know is that Raheem Mostert was nursing a knee injury and did not practice on Wednesday of this week. Now, the team did say it was more of a rest and maintenance thing rather than a pain thing, so that is something to monitor. But even if this was a non-issue for Raheem Mostert and his knee, I do think that he's just going against a tough run defense there in New England in a tough divisional matchup on the road. And we know the Dolphins are going to have a strong passing attack as usual, but if you did decide to play Raheem Mostert, I think we should view him as a low-end running back 2, maybe even just a flex running back 3 option. And I would consider playing guys like Isaiah Pacheco, Javonte Williams, and Jamal Williams over him this week. Now, the third and final player that I would consider sitting in my fantasy football leagues this week is going to be Breece Hall, running back for the New York Jets. And I apologize, Jets fans. I made Garrett Wilson a sit this week. I'm also making Breece Hall a sit this week, but they do play a game against the Dallas Cowboys, which is projected to be a very low scoring affair. The projected game total is going to be set at 38.5 points, which is one of the lowest, if not the lowest this week when it's all said and done. And the New York Jets have the lowest projected team total this week, set at 13.5 points. So we're looking at a New York Jets team that's projected to score anywhere between 1 and 2 touchdowns this game. And if you look at the sports books, it does favor closer to that 1 touchdown mark than it does the 2 touchdown mark. Breece does have a projected total yards line set at 45.5 rushing and receiving. And as far as a reception line goes, I could not find any receptions lines for Breece Hall in this matchup. One of the most surprising things and one of the most concerning things for Breece Hall here this week is that Breece has the 8th highest odds to score a touchdown in this game, so very low odds that Breece Hall falls into the end zone. And like I've already said, I expect this to be a very low scoring offense from the New York Jets this week against a defense that did hold Daniel Jones and the Giants to 0 points on Sunday Night Football last week. Breece did have a few big runs last week on Monday Night Football against the Buffalo Bills, but I really don't expect that to be a common theme here for Breece Hall this week against the Dallas Cowboys. And the Jets just project to be a bad offense this week and have very minimal scoring opportunities. And so because of that, I think that we can really just leave Breece Hall on our benches in fantasy football this week and really don't consider him for anything more than just a flex option. But I think there are plenty of running back and wide receiver options that I would much rather flex than trust Breece Hall in my lineups this week. Now, that is all I have for you guys today. If you did enjoy the video, go ahead and hit that like button for me. It is the best free way to show this channel support. Also, if you do like content like this and you want more content like this every single day, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. We are making content like this and posting it on the day-to-day basis. If you are currently struggling with any start-sit decisions in your fantasy football leagues right now, go ahead and ask me those questions in the comment section. I will try and answer everybody who comments in that section today, so you guys have analysis for your fantasy football lineups here in week 2. And if you want full access to me 24/7, 365, go ahead and join my free Discord. It is going to be linked in the description. That is going to be able to have access to me with start-sit decisions, waiver wire decisions, and also just introduce you to a community of like-minded fantasy football people who are on this journey with us, here to build the League FFB and win some fantasy football championships. So with all of that being said, I don't have anything else for you guys today. I will see you tomorrow on Sunday Live, 1 hour before the games, so I can answer any of your critical start-sit decisions right before game time. And until then, peace out.